Robert Costa posted this little quick thread yesterday, and I think it really, really underscores what's going on inside the kind of, not just Beltway pundits, but inside the Democratic Party establishment. Spoke this evening post-Madison event with two top national elected Democrats. There are two things that are true at once. They both said separately. They're beginning to accept President Biden is not considering at all leaving the ticket. Few, if any, want to publicly push him. Biden's determination to stay in hasn't stopped talk or of trying. Jesus Christ. Biden's determination to stay hasn't stopped talk of trying to get him to consider that position, especially after hearing from voters and donors on the 4th and talking among other elected Democrats. There is also a growing sense that VP Harris is a nominee if President Biden goes, which he says he won't do. Why? ? In order to avoid a political war and let fighting be over the running mate. No one is making any moves, even privately, to prepare to challenge her for the nom this summer in such a scenario. But again, as of 6:10 p.m. Eastern Time, ahead of the ABC interview, sources around the White House and the Biden family say he is as determined as ever, confident that he can beat Trump, and believes democracy is on the line with this election, and is confident that Dems will ultimately see it like him as debate fades. It is, as Suave Sentinel is pointing out, delusions of grandeur. Is it an existential threat to democracy? Is democracy on the ballot? Or is it just another election? That's the question that Dems need to answer. Because if you are 6 points behind the guy you're trying to beat, when this time in 2020, 4 years ago, you were 10 points ahead. If democracy is on the ballot, if you genuinely see Donald Trump and Project 2025, the Republican Party, as an existential threat to democracy, the American way of life, the safety of so many people, and the world over, of America's geopolitical standing, our economy, if you see Donald Trump winning as a threat, you would not be talking about how I'm the only guy that can beat him when you're 6 points behind. Either do some really good shit to prove and motivate people, to prove that you can do it, motivate people into voting for you, do something to expand voter access, or you're just proving once again that this entire thing about the democracy being on the ballot is just seasoning. It's just a talking point. Biden doesn't care. He's not long for the mortal coil, so no matter what happens, his life won't be affected. I genuinely think that Joe Biden either is so deluded into thinking that he can win because he already did, and because he's been trying to be president his entire political career, he thinks that he'll be able to lock in the Biden name as being a dedicated president forever, regardless of whether or not he loses. Or alternatively, and I think this is to a much lesser extent, I think the delusions of grandeur are a much greater contributing factor to this. Alternatively, Joe Biden recognizes that the Democratic Party wants a ceasefire and wants Joe to put pressure on Israel to stop sending arms, stop sending money, push for a ceasefire, have some consequences for the Israeli government, and that Donald Trump won't do that. Donald Trump and the Republican Party will not do anything to stop Israel. And being a lifelong dedicated Zionist, recognizes that if he loses, He doesn't have to worry about criticism. He doesn't have to worry about his party pushing for a ceasefire. He can retire and, return to the darkness for his 1,000 years of slumber. I think that's a much less likely motivating factor. Right? Maybe that's just my bias against Joe because I fucking hate him. Biden demands more dead children. Dems say democracy is on the ballot, but their leading man said he's okay if he loses the election as long as he tried his hardest. Yes. I mean, here. We'll look at the clip before we dive into it, because this is why. This is why the democracy is on the ballot thing is horseshit.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about. Look, George, think of it this way. You've heard me say this before. I think the United States and the world is at an inflection point where the things that happen in the next several years are going to determine what the next 6-7 decades look like. And who's going to be able to hold NATO together like me? Who's going to be able to be in a position where I'm able to keep the Pacific Basin in a position where we're at least checkmating China now? Who's going to do that? Who has that reach? Who knows all these? We're going to have, I guess, a good way to judge me is you're going to have now the NATO conference here in the United States next week. Come listen.
This is not an essay. This is not a high school track and field meet, where ultimately the consequences of who wins and loses doesn't really matter. This is not, a Discord debate where there are no winners and losers. This is not fucking whose line is it anyway, where nobody wins and the points don't matter. It is actually very consequential whether or not the Democratic Party can hold the executive, especially considering who the Republican nominee is. 330 million will be affected. The entire global population will be affected, whether people recognize it or not. So people will not look back at this and say, well, Joe did try his best and that's all we can ask. No. That ain't how this shit works. This is straight up delusional. Joe's American exceptionalist attitudes, he is genuinely one of the few people, I think, within American politics who actually believes the propaganda, who he believes our lies about our allyship with Israel, that we do it because it's the only democracy in the Middle East. He believes that. He believes that America is a shining beacon on a hill. He believes that America is the throne of democracy and we are the world police. He believes all that wholeheartedly. And that the American people are idealistic. Completely out of touch. This is after-school soccer. This is an after-school soccer. Giving it your all doesn't mean anything if democracy is on the line. Then get out of the way. Right. He's now clinging to power despite the voice of the people, which is the same shit a tyrannical king would do. Joe Biden has proved that everyone is a liberal at the end of the day. Everyone. If I'm not going to compare Joe to Donald Trump, I am comparing Donald Trump to Joe Biden, though. Trump is doing the same shit that Joe Biden does. Now, as far as the sucking the dick of America and being like, our beautiful flag, we're the best country on earth, no one does it like America. Donald Trump doesn't believe that. He doesn't care about America. He cares about his own, profiteering. But refusing to believe polls, refusing to listen to the public, refusing to listen to your aides and advisors and your staff, not withdrawing, not changing your rhetoric, not looking at things from a different approach. Trump does the same thing that Joe is doing right now. So if we're going to call Donald Trump a tyrant, Joe Biden is exactly that. He's just a less mean tyrant. Let's take a look. So originally, I thought this was going to be a 15-minute interview. This is 30 minutes, so let's go over it. Let me spam the live link one more time for you guys. Go like it, go juice it, and lock the fuck in. Biden Mimi time. Interview starting now. Remember that this is the president of the world superpower. Start dreading your future. We are donezo. Okay. How about you get donezo with ads and subscribe, chat, okay, so that you can have an ad-free interview, ad-free broadcasting experience, okay? How about that? Get those subs up. Let's do it.
From ABC News, a special edition of This Week. President Joe Biden, his first television interview since the debate. The news-making exclusive. Now reporting from Madison, Wisconsin, George Stephanopoulos.
Good evening from Madison, Wisconsin for a special edition of This Week. The first broadcast interview with President Biden since last week's debate. Earlier this afternoon, we taped the 22-minute interview. There are no cuts, no edits. We have not touched it. At this pivotal moment in the presidential campaign, here it is. Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the debate. You and your team have said you had a bad night, but your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It's a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
You say you were exhausted, and I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe.
Okay, I'm sorry to pause so quickly. I am immediately noticing two things. One, they painted this dude. He has so much bronzer on. Because I think they recognize he looks like a fucking corpse. He has layers of bronzer on. At least they got his eyes too, because when you can tell when Trump has like a fresh tan because he has like the little like tan line from the goggles. Yeah, at least they got that. But I'm also noticing that his audio is fucked. They had to boost his audio because he's so quiet. CNN TV this morning, White House sent questions to be asked for the interview. Biking Cat, if you could link that, I would greatly appreciate it. I want to see that. He must be losing in New Jersey, so they painted him up. Or if anybody has the CNN thing about them sending him questions. Something I noticed in the interview was that they had to crank the gain up on his mic because he's so quiet, he just whispers. Yeah, which, again, they cranked up his audio to make it seem like he's not as, Jack, I gotta cut the malarkey, okay? Yeah, I'm good. Don't worry about me. So they cranked him up so that he didn't seem so sleepy.
About 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked if they did a COVID test because they were trying to figure out what was wrong. They did a test to see whether or not I had some infection, a virus. I didn't. They just had a really bad cold.
And did you ever...
11 days, dude. 11 days. You were the president. They could have hopped you up on every drug on this planet. You cannot tell me it was because you're sick. Like, they could have shot you up with so much B12, adrenochrome, adrenaline, coke. You could have came out there and done a backflip. Don't tell me it's because you had a cold.
Watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Well, what I want to get at is, what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Yeah, look, the whole way I prepared, nobody's fault of mine. Nobody's fault of mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail. And I realized about partway through that, you know, although I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran.
Yeah, listen, I might be down by like 6, 8, 10 points, you know? The New York Times editorial board might be like asking me to resign as the most libbed up State Department, like, loving people within media. But did you notice how much he lied? Yeah, man, we know. No one is unaware of this. It's like that Ari Emanuel speaking engagement thing he did, where he was like, we can all, before we talk about this, recognize Donald Trump is bad, right? Like, we could recognize Donald Trump's bad. He's worse than Joe Biden. We know that. We're all on the same page, right? So I don't have to qualify every sentence I make here. We know. We know Trump lies. We know he's a piece of shit. That's not the question, man.
Not my fault. No one else's fault. No one else's fault.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in, even before he spoke.
Well, I just had a bad night. You've had some bad interviews once in a while. I can't remember any, but I'm sure you did.
I've had plenty. I guess the question, the problem is,
Stephanopoulos is not the fucking president. You've had bad nights too. Yeah, he doesn't have the nuclear codes though. Or does he?
is here for a lot of Americans watching. As you've said, going back to 2020, watch me. Yep. To people who are concerned about your age. And, 50 million Americans watched that debate. It seemed to confirm fears they already had.
Well, look, after that debate, I did 10 major events in a row, including till 2 o'clock in the morning after that debate. I did events in North Carolina. I did events in Georgia. Did events like this today. Large crowds, overwhelming response, no slipping. And so I just had a bad night. I don't know why.
And how?
No slipping, huh? You did a bunch of events. You didn't slip.
I'll beat Donald Trump. I will beat him again in 2020. Beat him again in 2020.
No slipping.
How quickly did it come to you that you were having that bad night?
Well, it came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that. But I realized that I just wasn't in control.
But part of the other concern is that this seems to have fit into a pattern of decline that has been reported on recently.
The silence after he corrects himself in that clip with the one guy going, yeah, is so ridiculous. That North Carolina, God, his smile, he's so gross. That North Carolina event he did right after the debate the next day had as many people as a random Wisconsin rally that Bernie Sanders had to talk about unions. Bernie had about 650 people out in a random park in the rain in Wisconsin to talk about unions. And I'm not going to lie to you. Most of the people at Biden's North Carolina event were volunteers and staffers. That crowd was in perfect sync. The moment there was a protester, everybody 4 more years. Not even like a couple people started it and everybody joined in. No, immediately Q card went up 4 more years. They were in sync. He's got like a tight 5 now that the crowd will reply back to him. They'll do call outs. It's all staffers.
The New York Times had a headline on July 2nd, Biden's lapses are said to be increasingly common and worrisome. Here's what they wrote. People who have spent time with President Biden over the last few months or so said the lapses appear to have grown more frequent, more pronounced, and after Thursday's debate, more worrisome.
Dude, look. Sorry to do like body language, expert stuff here. He doesn't like it. And nobody likes having their like memory or their, cognitive awareness called into question. Nobody does. Right? I'm a very forgetful person. And, I'll forget stuff that like Becca needs me to do, and she'll get frustrated and I'll like feel bad about it. Not just because I like fucked up, but because like I don't like having my like ability to remember stuff called into question. Executive dysfunction is a son of a bitch. But you're the motherfucking president. If you're getting this angry, this upset, yeah, eyes don't lie, man. His family's not helping either. Jill is a fucking cunt, dude. I'm sorry. The moment I decided I will never vote for Joe Biden was the moment those scum chanted 4 more years whenever someone disrupted the speech in protest of gossip. Yeah.
By many accounts, as evidenced by video footage, observation, and interviews, Mr. Biden is not the same today as he was even when he took office 3.5 years ago. Similar reporting in the Washington Post and the Wall Street
He apparently
Journal.
is like this at briefings when they say things he doesn't like to. Yeah, he's an ornery old man.
Are you the same man today that you were when you took office 3.5 years ago?
In terms of successes, yes. I also was the guy who put together a peace plan for the Middle East that may be coming to fruition. I was also the guy that expanded NATO. I was also the guy that grew the economy. All the individual things that were done were ideas I had or I fulfilled. I moved on. And so,
aside from the NATO thing, how's that different from Trump? I'm the guy that brought peace to the Middle East, a plan that can come to fruition. First of all, the fuck you did. But that's just like Trump, man, just making shit up. Expand the damn court, though. I call he drops out after mass on Sunday, like the good altar boy he is. We can only hope.
So, for example, well, that was true then. What's Biden done lately? Did you just see today? Just announced 200,000 new jobs. We're moving in a direction that no one's ever taken on. I know you know this from the days in the government. I took on Big Pharma. I beat them. No one said I could beat them. I took on all the things we said we got done. We were told we couldn't get done. And part of it is what I said when I ran was I wanted to do 3 things. Restore some decency to the
His fake Ted looks so fucking good. Wood rail. Stop. You fucked up for that, Kaisa. Fucked up. Motherfucker said wood rail.
office. Restore some support for the middle class instead of trickle-down economics built from the middle out and the bottom up. The way the wealthy still do fine, everyone does better. And unite the country.
But what has all that work over the last 3.5 years cost you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I just think it cost me a really bad night, bad run.
Yeah,
But
really, really, really bad. Like, campaign career-endingly bad. You just had to show up, and the expectation for Biden was the expectation I have for all of the chatters. Be normal. Low fucking bar. Yeah, but have you considered NATO? Yeah, yeah, super peaceful dove. Expanding NATO. Yeah. I forget sometimes that he's not an old man, and I forget sometimes that he's not an old man that isn't aware of what's going on. He's fully aware of his inability, and he's purposely not because he's sour that he had to wait until he's nearly dead to be president after giving his life to the party. Bitter and pathetic old man. There are several schools of thought that you can approach Joe Biden's dementia with. That he is aware that he is a bumbling buffoon, or he doesn't want to accept it. And every time people bring it up, or people, be like, Joe, you forgot. Joe, you fucked up. He gets mad. Because he knows and doesn't want people to, like, bring it up. I bet his staff never tells him he sucks. I mean, he's had over a dozen White House staffers that have been writing calls to the president, being like, you need to reverse course on Gaza because you're gonna fucking allow a genocide to happen. You are allowing it to happen. His family doesn't want to accept it, and they're making the decisions, apparently. I don't know if they're making the decisions. Ultimately, I think it's up to him. Because apparently, he doesn't listen to Jill either. He doesn't even talk to his staff. He only talks to his inner circle, and then the inner circle talks to the staff. He's been in a bubble for like 2 years. I mean, he'll be doing his first White House press pool conference in like probably since 2021 in like a week. I think he's doing it next Thursday. He's doing a White House press conference. Yeah, next Thursday, which shows me that they are trying to just do one appearance a week until the convention. He's going to do one appearance a week, and the campaign's going to be like, listen, we got this thing coming up next week. We'll be able to decide from there. It happens. Everyone is like, yeah, it's clear that we're right. And they'll go, well, let's listen. We have another thing coming up next Friday. So like, let's wait till that. Moving the goalpost until the convention. Yeah, running out the clock. Oh god, yeah, I'll show you this afterwards, because like that post right there, that's tyrant shit.
But George, I'm optimistic about this country. I don't think we're a country of losers, that he points out. I don't think America's in tough shape. I think America's on the cusp of breaking through in so many incredible opportunities. This next term, I'm going to make sure we have straighten out the tax system. I'm going to make sure we're in a situation where we have health care for all people, where we're in a position where we have child care and elder care.
You've been the president for 4 years. Like, straightening out the tax system, getting people health care, getting people child care, that's like year one, first 18 months shit. When you still had a majority. You've been the president for 4 years. That's a question that George should have asked immediately. Okay, you've been president for 4 years. Why are you talking about all this good shit you're gonna do when you've been president? Like, you're at the tail end of your presidency. You're on the way out. He had all 3 fucking houses. He did. So, like, that's first 100 days shit, using the bully pulpit and COVID crisis and the new election results. Right. Like, going into the presidency, using COVID as a catalyst to get expanded access to like Medicare and Social Security and disability, and lowering the threshold for getting insured, lowering insurance costs, or hell, just telling the Supreme Court to go fuck itself and doing Medicare for all. Student loan debt. He had all these opportunities, yet we're like, hey, I'm about to do all this shit. No, you're not. You had ample opportunity. He looks so orange. What's with that? They tanned him up so he doesn't look so dead. You literally could just say that this is a national emergency and we need national health care to stop this pandemic. Yeah, the best copium I've heard yet is that the establishment is going after him because he wants to tax tax billionaires. No. Like, does Joe want to raise taxes on, like, people making $400,000 or less? Yeah, that's been like a campaign thing for forever. Did he raise some taxes on top marginal tax rates? A little bit, but not significantly. There's no capital gains tax. There's nothing significant. There's been plenty of subsidies. Does Joe Biden want to do anything besides stay president? No. No. The fucking DNC hired a mortician to do Joe's makeup now. Joe Biden doesn't want to do anything. He's got the thing he wanted. He's wanted to be president forever. His whole career. He got the thing he wanted. He is a narcissist, a belligerent narcissist at that. Bowing out now would mean to Joe, and would be the correct take, that Joe is a failure of a president. And Joe's ego can't take that. They literally don't have any issues page. They literally don't have an issues page on their website. Yes, and I bring this up often. He has no campaign platform. It is the whitest kids you know running for Senate bit. When you're going into election season this November, just remember me. Biden is just doing extended public autofellatio at this point. He really is. Like, Joe Biden could have a senior moment and walk out onto the White House lawn, just dick out in a bathrobe, just completely open, no tie, not even loose, just dick out for all the world to see, and the press would be like, yo, we saw your fucking Oval Office, dude. What the fuck is up with that? And he'd be like, nah, Jack, I'm the guy. What do you mean? Look at all the shit I've done. And I'll be real, if he was doing all the shit he thinks he's done, I might give him a pass on that. I would kind of respect it. Hunter is packing that might help his polling. I thought he wanted to not vote for him. Stop giving me reasons to vote for him, dog.
Yep, and all these things. The one thing I'm proudest of is, remember when my economic plan was put forward, a lot of the mainstream economists said it's not going to work. Well, guess what? You now have 16 Nobel laureates, 16 of them in economics, saying that Biden's next term would be, based on what he wants to do, enormous success. Trump's plan would cause a recession, would significantly increase inflation. I've made great progress, and that's what I plan on doing, and we can do this.
I understand that.
Right, but again, your statement is based on a critical word you used. If you win, that should not be the question. If he wins, it will be significant. Yeah, no shit. No shit, it will be significant, not only because Donald Trump will be defeated twice, but because we will watch you die in office, and Kamala Harris will take over. It'll be the first woman president. It'll be the first president to die in office in like 100 years. What's your rent? I don't rent.
And I'm not disputing that. What I'm asking you is about your personal situation. Do you dispute that there have been more lapses, especially in the last several months?
Can I run the 110 flat? No. But I'm still in good shape.
Are you more frail?
No.
Brother. Again. You walk around like a fucking, like the oldest velociraptor in the herd. You're just like, Arr! Your elbows don't open up. They only are at like a 90 degree. Are you more frail? Without any type of doubt. I mean, they're boosting your audio because you talk so quiet now. You're loud as fuck. I've seen you be loud. Talk about this a lot, but the dementia diagnosis is a 10-year lifespan. So I want to know when his diagnosis was. If he was wearing a Biden Halloween mask, deeply upsetting. It's like he's wearing a Biden Halloween mask. Yeah, it's uncanny.
I know you
Come
spoke.
keep my schedule.
I know you spoke with your doctor after the debate. What did he say?
He said, he just looked at me and said, you're exhausted. I said, I have medical doctors traveling everywhere every president does.
I don't think the doctor said you're exhausted. I think the doctor just looked at him and Biden said, "You look exhausted." I think Biden said, "You're exhausted," if we're being real. Carter mentioned he's doing that bottom jaw bouncing ever so slightly that super old people get when it's almost time. Yeah, like the... Not good, man. It's not good. Who wants to chip in to cover my HOA fine so I can paint a message on my roof telling Joe to drop out when Marine One flies over my house tomorrow? Could you lie this well at 81? Probably. Probably, because this is how old people lie. That's just how it is, man. Nah, Jack. I could take you on, okay? Listen, I might not be a spring chicken, but I can still take you on to fisticuffs. Meet me out in the... Meet me out in the farmer's market parking lot. I'll give you the old Richard Nixon.
No. Medical doctors, some of the best in the world, travel me everywhere I go. I have an ongoing assessment of what I'm doing. They don't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong.
I know you said you have an ongoing assessment. Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me. And I've had a full physical. I had, I've been at Walter Reed for my physicals. Yes. The answer is...
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking...
Wait, he gets a neurological test every day? No.
A slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
No one said I had to. No one said, they said I'm good.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that.
No. He's not about to say this. No, he's not about to say my cognitive and physical test is being president. No, he's not saying the job is a test.
Everything I do. Not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of... Well, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail. But
fuck off, dude! Fuck off! What he's saying is that dementia comes and goes, and thus he does a neurological test every day to see if it's a good day or a bad one. To be fair, forgetting Keir Starmer is easy. He's very dull. It's not I shouldn't get into it thing. Okay, so we fell off. Okay, like we immediately trailed off. We forgot what the fuck our sentence was supposed to be. But also, him saying, I don't need to take a test. I don't need to prove that that my brain is good, that my brain works, because I'm the president, and my job is a test of my stamina. That's some motherfucking Trump shit, dude. That's some Republican authoritarian tyrant shit. Nah, man, I'm good. This shit's hard enough. Look how good I'm doing. Yeah, my life is a test, dog.
with Netanyahu. I'm on the phone with the new Prime Minister of England. I'm working on what we're doing with regard to, in Europe, with regard to expansion of NATO and whether it's going to stick. I'm taking on Putin. I mean, every day, there's no day I go through, there are not those decisions I have to make every single day.
And you have
Flashback to a week ago when a lib friend of mine tried to tell me he's super progressive and America's only hope, Lamau, the insane gaslighting. It's not just like that, it's gaslighting, because gaslighting is trying to make you doubt what you already believe, right? It's trying to make you doubt what you clearly know. This is just lying. It's not gaslighting, okay? This is just looking the American people in the eye and going, nope, I'm good. What do you mean? Oh, like, god damn, dude. God damn. I gotta back this up.
With Netanyahu, I'm on the phone with the new Prime Minister of England. I'm working on what we're doing with regard to in Europe with regard to expansion of NATO and whether it's going to stick. I'm taking on Putin. I mean, every day, there's no day I go through, there are not those decisions I have to make every single day.
And you have been doing that, and the American people have been watching, yet there are concerns about
It's
your...
not even his decisions, though. That's the thing. It's not even his decisions. He may be, like, making phone calls and stuff, but remember that he hasn't talked to Bibi Netanyahu in, like, 2 months. He goes through periods of, like, just not being on the phone with anyone in Israel for months at a time. That's Blinken that's doing that. Blinken is the one that's talking to the Knesset and the War Cabinet, or, you know, the inner circle. The War Cabinet's gone now. Making decisions. You don't make decisions as the president. You have advisors. You have administrative officials. You rubber stamp all of the decisions that are made within the government. You're just there to sign off on them. Now, there are obviously things that he does as president, like bypassing Congress to give Israel $140 million. That's certainly a thing. Why is it called rubber stamp and not just stamp? Well, because they're rubber, but it's also whatever. Making phone calls is not a dementia test. Yeah, my grandmother, under that metric, would be passing with flying colors her dementia test because she calls me like 4 times a day. Even though she knows when I work. Like, she called me a few minutes ago. Signifies that the stamping process takes as little effort as possible. Yeah.
Age and your health are growing, so that's why I'm asking, to reassure them, would you be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left in this campaign.
No, there ain't.
It's over 125 days.
That ain't a lot. That ain't a lot. That's 4 months, Jack.
So
I'll
the answer,
make a decision.
the right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that right
No,
now.
I've already done it.
You talked a lot about your successes at the beginning of this interview, and I don't want to dispute that. I don't want to debate that. But as you know, elections are about the future, not the past. They're about tomorrow, not yesterday. And the question on so many people's minds right
That's not even true. The elections are quite literally about your record and your platform. Like, no, we should be critical of Joe Biden's, like, 4 years. We should be. We can't just be like, listen, what's done is done. We got to look ahead. No. No. There's a reason that people wanted a primary. There's a reason that people were upset that they couldn't run somebody against him when 75% of the country didn't want him or Trump to run again. Remember, this is a head-to-head against two people that both parties in unison didn't want either of them to run. The majority of the voting population said no to both of them, and neither of them had a real primary. The Republican Party, credit where credit is due, I guess, had kind of a theater primary, you know? We had some good gaffes, you know? We got Ramaswamy, we got, you know, Nikki Slaley. We got some Bergam heads. Bergamaniacs. Actually, most people are so disengaged. It's it's a popularity contest rather than a recent election. That's what most elections are. Most elections are a personality contest. It's a vibes measuring contest.
Now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together. The future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought could happen. I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific Initiative with AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations out, not only in Europe, outside of Europe.
Joe, you're out of the focus zone.
Ukraine. I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget. I'm the guy that got the Japanese to expand their budget. Yeah, some good that's doing Japan, by the way. A lot of good that's doing. And for example, when I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip in, we invented the chip, that little chip for the computer chip. It's in everything from cell phone to weapons. And so we used to have 40%, and we're down to virtually nothing. So I get in the plane against the advice of everybody, and I fly to South Korea. I convinced them to invest in the United States billions of dollars. Now we have tens of billions of dollars being invested in the United States, making us back in a position where we're going to own that industry again.
Like, dude, he's straining right now. Just talking about your legislative accomplishments shouldn't be as difficult as doing a deadlift. Like, he looks like this physically hurts to put these words out. New cognitive test, since they're in a kid's library, read My Pet Goat, Joe Biden. Yeah. We're going to select a random, like 11th grade level, like science fiction novel for you to read, okay? I just want you to read through this.
We have, anyway, I don't want to take too much credit. I have a great staff.
But all the, I guess...
Like, just anyway.
My point is, all that takes a toll. Do you have the mental and physical capacity to do it for another 4 years?
I believe so. I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I did. Look, I'm running again because I think I understand best what has to be done to take this nation to a completely new level. We're on our way. We're on our way. And look, the decision recently made by the Supreme Court on immunity, the next president of the United States, it's not just about whether he or she knows what they're doing. It's not about a conglomerate of people making decisions. It's about the character of the president. The character of the president is going to determine whether or not this Constitution is employed the right way.
Let me ask you a tougher, more personal question. Are you sure you're being honest with yourself when you say you have the mental and physical capacity to serve another 4 years?
Yes, I am, because, George, the last thing I want to do is not be able to meet that. I think...
That's it right there. The last thing I want to do is not be able to run. With this audio, can you tell me if this is channel AV1 or AV2? It doesn't matter. They boosted his audio because he's so quiet, because he's so feeble. That right there is a self-report. The last thing I want to do is not be able to do that, not be able to run. He doesn't give a fuck about the consequences of this. He does not care that he is going to lose. Why is it so noisy and you can hear him breathing? Because they boosted his audio. He promised one term. Yeah, that is among a plethora of campaign promises that he just did not deliver on. We will see, at least, because if he loses, he will be correct that he'll be a one-term president. He'll be correct if he loses. That and nothing will fundamentally change. He kept that promise. Biden is so angry he won last time, he was paid to lose.
As son of a senior economist and a senior foreign policy specialist say, if I stop now, I'd go down in history as a pretty successful president. No one thought I could get done what we got done.
But are you being honest with yourself as well about your ability to defeat Donald Trump right now?
Yes. Yes.
I don't believe that.
To defeat Donald Trump right now?
Yes.
That doesn't sound like the most confident yes, if we're being real. Yes.
Yes.
You say that, and let me challenge you.
Sure.
Because you were close, but behind going into the debate. You're further behind now, by any measure. It's been a two-man race for several months. Inflation has come down.
Oh, he doesn't like that.
In those last few...
Ooh, he doesn't like that. God damn, yeah, this is making him mad. Immediately making him mad.
months, he's become a convicted felon. Yet you're still falling further behind.
You guys keep saying that. George, you know polling better than anybody. Do you think polling data is accurate as it used to be?
In 2020, when Donald Trump was saying that the polls were fake news, every fucking Democrat liberal was out here being like, Donald Trump doesn't believe the polls. He doesn't believe the American people. He's saying fake news. He's like doubting the press. Thank you, my love. Thank you. He's doubting the press. His fingers are in his ears. La la la. You're wrong. Fake news. Yeah. 2020 Biden was up by 10 points and barely won. Let's talk about trusting polls. Right. It was a contentious election. It was very close. And he was 10 points up at this time in 2020. All I want him to hit him back with it. Dems not named Biden are doing fine, but you're doing bad one fucking time, please. Right. Like, he is a detriment. A detriment to the rest of the party that's running and doing well. What does this mean? Keep in mind this starting position of many people is nationalist, bigoted, pro-capitalist, and wrecked by American education. It means exactly that. What do you mean? He truly is the Trump orange spray tan fail son in the White House, built a wall and right-wing immigration policy. Hassan is so correct when he says Biden is the new Trump. He is the Democrat version of Trump. He's wrecking the party. He is a legislative failure. I mean, not even that. Donald Trump is not necessarily a legislative failure. Donald Trump secured a lot for the Republican Party. Did he get a Muslim ban? No. Did they build a wall? No. Right? Did he make it illegal to be a communist? No. But did he secure 3 Supreme Court justices? Did he expand America's military apparatus? Did he give the biggest tax cuts in history? Did he fundamentally change or really unmask American politics forever? Yeah. Yeah, expanded the voter base. Joe Biden is just the perfect Democrat. Donald Trump is the perfect Republican because he's entertaining. He's honest about his bigotry. He makes people feel comfortable being what Republicans really are. And Joe Biden really is the perfect Democrat. Pissing on you and telling you it's raining. Consistently failing. Bending to the right. Yeah, he really is a mirror. They both are mirrors to the like central positions of both parties. Obama made me feel good about war crimes, though. Supreme Court just said the president has all the rights, but Biden bends the news to some bitch in Texas over student debt. Trump and Kushner did Abraham Accords, which ultimately led to the Gaza situation. Yeah, like moving the embassy to Jerusalem. $110 billion weapons deal with Saudi Arabia, backing the Saudi genocide in Yemen. He's very successful. Status quo is going to kill us all. Great. I mean, always has been. Unmasked is fitting. The mask bans are also happening under Biden. Yeah, there are Democratic mayors, governors, legislators that are trying to ban masking at protests. Masking in general. Because it's a symbol of dissent. Somehow. Biden is even doing the Trump Nepo thing of having Hunter stand in meetings. Yeah.
I don't think so, but I think when you look at all of the polling data right now, it shows that he's certainly ahead in the popular vote, probably even more ahead in the battleground states. And one of the other key factors there is it shows that in many of the battleground states, the Democrats who are running for Senate and the House are doing better than you are.
Well, that's not unusual in some states. I carried an awful lot of Democrats last time I ran in 2020. Look, I remember them telling me the same thing in 2020. I can't win. The polls show I can't win. Remember 2020, the red wave was coming. Before the vote, I said that's not going to happen. We're going to win. We did better in an off year than almost any incumbent president ever has done. They said in 2023, all the tough races we're not going to win. I went into all those areas, all those districts, and we won.
All that is true, but 2020 was a close race. And your approval rating has dropped significantly since then. I think the last poll I saw was at about 36%. The number of Americans who think you're too old to serve has doubled since 2020. Wouldn't a clear-eyed political calculus tell you that it's going to be much tougher to win in 2024?
Not when you're running against a pathological liar.
Brother,
Not when he had
you have
been
lied this entire interview. We are 14 minutes into it. We've been covering this for an hour. You have lied this entire interview. What do you mean? Not only have you been wrong, just straight up wrong, but you are lying to the American people.
Challenged in a way that is about to be challenged. Not when people...
You've had months to challenge him.
Oh, I sure had months, but I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around the world.
I'm sorry, what?
Sure had months, but I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around...
Oh God. Oh God. Oh my Jesus fucking Christ. I've been doing wars, Jack. I've been doing so much, like, war. Oh my God, dude. Who is listening to this like, well, there it is. That's what we want to vote for. War. I'll tell you who. Harry Sisson, that like liberal TikTok DNC kid that was on Piers Morgan the other day. That's who. The oh boy, big news. Those guys. That's who's watching this and being like, fuck, pog, dude. Pog. Poggers, even.
Around the world. Like keeping NATO together. Like working, anyway. But look.
Do you really believe you're not behind right now?
I think it's, all the pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up.
That's not true. But also, how do you feel confident in that? Like, if it's a toss-up between you and you think you're doing good shit and the guy who's like, I want to burn the Constitution. How do you feel confident? How are you kicking up your feet being like, it's an easy ride to fucking November, baby? This bitch is down by 10 points.
It's a toss-up. And when I'm behind, there's only one poll I'm really far behind. CBS poll and NBC, and
New York Times and NBC both have you about 6 points behind in the popular vote.
That's exactly right. New York Times had me behind before anything happened to do with this race. Had me behind 10.
Brother. In the national averages, you were behind by almost 3 points. You're just inside the margin of error nationally. Signal up by 5 in 2 Signal polls. JL Partners, Trump up by 6. Ipsos up by 8, up by 6, up by 6, up by 4. For some reason, an Ipsos Reuters poll, Michelle Obama is up by 12. Trump up by 1, Trump up by 3, Trump up by 6, Trump up by 5, by 4, 1. Michelle Obama by 11. Like, where is a single poll that Biden is up? Not a goddamn one. Not a single one. In any of these national polls, are you up? How does this poll not include Laborny Jr.? Fourth quarter comeback, Jack. Biden's safe words anyway. Look, excuse me. That and as a Biden. That's his other new favorite one, or one he's done for a while. I give my word as a Biden. What the fuck does that mean to me? I'm not kidding. Yeah, that's the other one. I'm not kidding, Jack. I'm not fooling. And that's no tomfoolery.
Points. 10 points had me behind. Nothing's changed substantially from the debate, the New York Times poll.
Just when you look at the reality, though, Mr. President, I mean, you won the popular vote in 2020, but it was still deadly close in the Electoral
By
College.
7 million votes.
Yes, but you're behind now in the popular vote.
I don't buy that.
Is it worth the risk?
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. Because humility will get you a long way. Saying there are lots of promising Democrats. Because here's a way you could frame this. There are lots of very promising, dedicated, younger, firebrand Democrats that could be running against Donald Trump. The problem is we are 4 months out from the election. Now is not the time for us to be, trying to start over. So let's get together. Let's get these races going. Let's get everybody out. Let's start stumping for each other. Let's unite as a party. Let's defeat the Republican Party, because that is also the central issue here, is that this is framed as a race between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. It's not. It is a race between a lying in wait Republican, fascist party and a collapsing neutron star of a neoliberal party. The neoliberals cannot tell their leader, you need to step aside, because it would hurt his feelings. And the Republican Party, recognizing that even if they don't like Donald Trump, even if he presents with his chaos a lot of instability and risk, his cult of personality is a direct benefit to them, because they can get what they want, even if he doesn't know what the party structure wanting is, what the agenda is. He posted yesterday, I don't know what Project 2025 is. A lot of it seems abysmal. I think Donald Trump is not really aware. I do believe him to a certain degree, right? Ultimately, it doesn't matter. But I do believe to a certain degree that Donald Trump doesn't know what Project 2025 is. He's just going to rubber stamp whatever comes across his desk. If the right people are pushing it to him, he'll be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's fucking do it. Because he knows how to read a room. He knows if you're out here being like, we're going to do Project 2025 and it's going to be a new revolution, a bloodless one, if the left allows it to be. He knows that's not good. He knows that doesn't sell to anybody. He can go out and say, immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country, and ultimately, he's not going to lose any votes. But if he goes out and says, we're going to slaughter every single communist and Black Lives Matter protester, we're going to put people in internment camps, he knows he's not going to win anything broadly. Why would Trump care either? He gets everything he wants by becoming president again. After that, he can just chill. Yes, that's the whole thing. He doesn't have to have an agenda. He just has to run the hits, get people excited, be a cult of personality, be entertaining, and just don't talk about Joe Biden. They don't have to talk about him publicly. They can say oh, he's failing. The Democrats are, going to destroy this country. He doesn't even have to campaign against him. Joe Biden is doing that for him. Did his tie fall off? Why is he wearing his shirt like that? Like he's some 50-year-old creepy old guy? Does he have gold chains and a greased up chest? Come on, Jack. No, this is his church clothes. Trump knows because he's talked to all of these people. Many of his staffers are in the project. This is absolutely his doing. That Axios article claiming he doesn't know shit is BS. He's, like I said, he is aware of it. The details of which doesn't matter. He doesn't know all the details of Project 2025. He doesn't know, like, you know, how it's going to be done. He's got people for that. Right? Is he aware of it? Yeah, of course he's aware of it. Does he know that, like, the ins and outs? You know? No.
You know, the heart of your case against Donald Trump is that he's only out for himself, putting his personal interest ahead of the national interest. How do you respond to critics who say that by staying in the race, you're doing the same thing?
Oh, come on. Well, I don't think those critics know what they're talking about.
They're just wrong?
It's wrong. Look, Trump is a pathological liar. Trump is, he is... Have you ever seen anything Trump did that benefited somebody else, not him? You can't answer, I know.
I've questioned him and his allies as persistently as any journalist has.
No, I know you have. I'm not being critical.
Yeah.
I'm not being critical. But look, I mean, the man is a congenital liar. As I said, they pointed out in that debate he lied 27, 28 times the times or whatever.
Yeah, we know. This interview is not about Donald Trump, man. It's about you. This is about you.
Over 20 times. Talk about how good his economy was, how he brought down inflation, how this is a guy who, unlike only other president other than him is Hoover, lost more jobs than he created. This is a guy who told us to put bleach in our arms to deal with COVID, when over a million people died. This is a guy who talks about wanting to get rid of the healthcare provisions we put in place. This is a guy who wants to give the power back to big pharma to be able to charge exorbitant prices for drugs. This is a guy who wants to undo every single thing I've done. Every single thing.
I understand that. I understand that's why you want to stay in the race. But have you convinced yourself that only you can defeat him?
I convinced myself of two things. I'm the most qualified person to beat him, and I know how to get things done.
If you can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump, will you stand down?
Well, it depends if the Lord Almighty comes out and tells me that, I might do that.
Well, I mean, on a more practical level, Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man, but we've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination too. Mark's not.
So Mark is a good guy, but he also wants to be in my chair, so he's just jealous. He's peanut butter and jealous. That's your excuse? He's peanut butter and jealous? Also, Mark fucking who? I love how he says he might step down if God tells him to. Did he go over that part? Did I miss it because I was typing out something on the other screen? Did he say that?
Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect him.
Yes? Okay. Because, like, hang on, let me run that back.
If you can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump, will you stand down?
Well, it depends if the Lord Almighty comes out and tells me that, I might do that.
Well,
I said this earlier, but he is demented enough that we could make this happen. This is the goddamn White House. They have the funds and the production value to make that happen. Just set up some hidden lights and, like, you know, fog machines in his bedroom at the White House, and in the middle of the night, just kick on the holy music and the lights and have a staffer who's got, like, long hair and a beard, looks like Jesus, like, just show up at the foot of his bed and be like, Joe, my son. You know, like, Just
Joe, my child, it's time. It's time for you to step down. Yea, does he who walks along me bow out of the race. It's her time. Let my daughter Kamala take the reins. You have been a good warrior for me. But all warriors must put down their sword. Till the lands and watch the fruit of their seed bear. If you are a son of mine, and you will see my words are true. Cut the malarkey, Jack, and get the fuck out of the race.
we could make that happen, legitimately. We could make that happen and he would bow out. Let's get some goddamn like haunted house production in there, but make it Christ-like. There are plenty of mega churches that got dudes flying around on zip lines and harnesses and shit. We could make this work.
I mean, on a more practical level, Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man, but we've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination too.
That's so, dude. Like, what an insane thing to say. Only God can get me to drop out. What an absolutely batshit crazy thing to say. God himself is the only person that could get me to get out of this race. How delusional is that? Mark is a senator from Virginia, best known for his ties to the military-industrial complex. I mean, he is from Virginia. I wanted to threaten someone with sending the seals on them for trying to get him to step back, but at this, he probably forgot about the ruling. Yeah, at this point, the scene I'm talking about.
Dad, you know my father, God, wants to show you something.
Why? I meant what?
I've learned not to ask. Look, he wants you to wait.
In front of Dr. Hathaway's house at 639 Ivy Crest Drive at precisely 7:08 this morning.
Ivy Crest?
Just wait there and you shall receive a sign. Do not despair and do not go inside.
Well, why not? Hello? Hello, Jesus.
It's awful that that's our president, dude. It's awful that this is unironically our Jesus, our president. Real question, the Supreme Court said the president has immunity. I'm the president of my LLC. Anyone have ammo? Okay, chill.
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the
Did you cover Biden coming in the overflow room? What?
race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I go into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail, including Jim Clyburn. Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race. Stay in the race. None of the people said I should leave.
But if they do?
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
You sure?
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Look, I mean, if the Lord Almighty came down and said, Joe, get out of the race, I get out of the race, the Lord Almighty's not coming down. I mean, these hypotheticals, George,
But it's not that hypothetical anymore. I grant that they have not requested the meeting, but it's been reported.
I've met with them. I've met with a lot of these people. I've talked with them regularly. I had an hour conversation with Hakeem. I had more time than that with Jim Clyburn. I spent time with many hours off and on the last little bit with Chuck Schumer. It's not like I had all the governors. I
agree that the Lord Almighty is not going to come down, but if you are told reliably from your allies, from your friends and supporters in the Democratic Party, in the House and the Senate, that they're concerned you're going to lose the House and the Senate if you stay in, what will you do?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Oh my God!
Every time my
Oh my God!
House and the Senate, that they're concerned you're going to lose the House and the Senate if you stay in, what will you do?
I'm not going to answer that question.
It would be so easy. It would be so easy. Just be there with a big soft pillow at like 6 p.m. when he goes to bed. Because, like, goddamn, dude, I'm not going to answer the question of what is going to happen if we lose the House and the Senate. Brother, you're the motherfucking president. And this ultimately represents, like, another, like, major issue with Joe Biden, that he sees himself as the president of not the president who's elected by the Democratic Party and its voters, but as the president of both the Democrat and Republican Party. No, that's not how this works, man. That this bipartisanship garbage does not work. The Republican Party wants to see you put in a goddamn blender, and I kind of relate to them at this point. Thinking that you're going to be able to get anything done, as if you've gotten anything done other than, you know, a genocide over the last, like, year and a half, 2 years, since the Republican Party took over the House. You're not going to get anything done, and we might lose seats if you stay in the race because your existence in this race depresses voter turnout. I've been doing wars. He's doing the divine right of king stuff. I mean, he quite literally said that only God can get him to drop out. So yes.
It's not going to happen.
What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
You saw it today. How many people do you get draw crowds like I drew today? You find me any more enthusiastic than today? Huh?
I mean, I don't think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question about that.
He can draw a big crowd, but what does he say? Who does he have? I'm the guy supposedly in trouble. We raised $38 million within 4 days after this. We have over 1 million individual contributors. Less than $200. I've not seen what you're proposing.
You haven't seen the fall off in the polls. You haven't seen the reports of discontent in the Democratic Party, House Democrats, Senate Democrats.
Dude, oh man, he's so mad. He's so mad when George brings all this up. He gets legitimately butthurt.
I've seen it from the press.
You know, I've heard from dozens of your supporters over the last
That's it? Just, I've seen it from the press? Yeah, man. That's their job, is to report the polling they have. That's their job. Where else are you going to get it? Yeah, the lying mainstream media, Jack. My sub is finally at the age of being able to drink in the U.S. Party time. Thank you for the 21 months, Prada.
Days and a variety of views, I grant you that. But the prevailing sentiment is this. They love you. And they will be forever grateful to you for defeating Donald Trump in 2020.
George doing a little bit of dick sucking.
They think you've done a great job as president, a lot of the successes you outlined. But they are worried about you and the country, and they don't think you can win. They want you to go with grace, and they will cheer you if you do. What do you say to them?
I say the vast majority are not where those folks are. I don't doubt there's some folks there. Have you ever seen a group at a time when elected officials running for office aren't a little worried? Have you ever seen that? I've not. Same thing happened in 2020. Oh, Biden, I don't know, man. What's he going to do? He may bring me down. He may.
Mr. President, I've never seen...
I'm sorry, what?
Same thing happened in 2020. Oh, Biden, I don't know, man. What's he going to do? He may bring me down. He may.
Is that him making fun of, like, the press? Is that him making fun of the media? Oh, Biden.
Mr. President, I've never seen a president at 36% approval get reelected.
Well, I don't believe that's my approval rate. That's not what our polls show.
And if you stay in...
Okay, so it's just what? Like, in your dementia-addled, like, fevers, you're just, like, drawing your own polling with, like, a Crayola and being like, look at my polling, Jack! Look how good it is! Me and Jill did finger painting and I painted me being up in the polls. Yeah, our polls. That's... When he says our polls, what he means is the polling that his team is, like, filtering to him. Like, you have to remember, the president, especially Joe Biden, only working like 5-6 hours a day, wakes up at 10 a.m., gets like 2 hours of briefings, and in those briefings, all information that gets to him is filtered through multiple channels. By the time it gets to him, he's only getting like a little bit of the actual information. He's getting little bitty things.
Man.
Q, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. So when he says our polls don't show that, he is correct. The polls that he's getting are ones that are, you know, locked in voters. He's getting the protest vote polling. Can't wait until he starts saying it's rigged. It would... At this point, it would not shock me if Joe Biden, on November 8th, as the results are coming in, would say that the polls are rigged. More Dems are sticking their necks out. As an elected leader, I feel a responsibility to be honest about what I believe, even if it's when it's hard to hear. President Biden is a good man, and I appreciate his lifetime of service, but I believe he should step aside for the next generation of leadership. The stakes are too high. This is not a decision I have come to lightly, but there is simply too much at stake to risk a second Donald Trump presidency. That's why I respectfully call on President Biden to step aside as the Democratic nominee for a second term as president and allow for a new generation of leadership to step forward. Our party has extraordinary number of talented leaders within it. I believe this is an opportunity to put forward an open, fair, and transparent democratic process to select a new nominee to inspire and unite our great nation. If we truly believe that Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans must be stopped, there's only a small window left to make sure we have a candidate best equipped to make sure that we can win. The future of our country is bigger than any one of us. It's up to the president from here, which is fucking unfortunate. That is up to the guy who said this. Let me say this as clearly as I can. I am the sitting president of the United States. I am the nominee for the Democratic Party. I am staying in the race. First of all, you have not been officially, like, called the nominee. The convention has not happened yet. You are not the nominee right now. You are the presumptive nominee. Yeah, community note that motherfucker. Look at Mike. Your lasting legacy will be genocide and delivering Trump a second term. Shame on you. But thanks for letting us know, Jill. How are you tweeting this when you're on stage in Wisconsin right now? Man called himself the morning and the evening star. Yeah, he really is. He's like Joe Biden. Went on Twitter and said this shit. Where is it?
Every time my poll goes up, I say, oh, this is problem.
Taking
my life, Usul. It is the only way.
I'm pointing the way! Una sot und da verzihi ne flipit communi! Kabakakali kakari! Hurai!
Your mother's warned me about my coming. They told you about a green paradise on Arrakis. Taken to paradise. Kamala. Oh my god. I'm for Dykin, Jack. Someone needs to remind Joe that most Christians believe that God speaks in signs and wonders. All of your allies speaking out against you, speaking out against you staying in should be considered a sign from God. Should be, is not though. Just straight up is not. Was it good? He really thinks he's him. The last connections to humanity that I have gone. I did it all. But because when Paul transgressed the way of the Fremen, he actually left them to the left to the desert. Yeah, we just need Biden to do that. Can we send Biden out to the desert? Tuna, thank you for the 8 months. Why won't you vote Trump? Why would I vote for Trump? Why would I vote for Trump? Boom a zoom? Boom bam zoom? Why? I learned to be strong-willed like Biden from this. What a Chad. He's this confident at his lowest. Because he's hot. Okay, well, fair, but no, not enough. Not enough. Yeah, we're voting for genocide, against genocide. Joe is not Lisan Al-Gaib, he's the long-awaited alpha male Bene Gesserit.
Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about. Look, George, think of it this way. You've heard me say this before. I think the United States and the
Brother, no one cares. No one cares. This is not a Hillary Clinton. Everybody is drummed up in like a anti-Russian. It's her time fever. No one is going to go out and say that, this is the Bernie Bros' fault. Weirdly enough, we will still have people saying that this Bernie Bros and, anti-Biden, like progressives and leftists that brought Biden a loss. There will still be people saying that. But broadly, I don't even think that's going to be the prevailing narrative. I think people will just realize Joe Biden fucked up and refused to drop out because he's a fucking narcissist. No one at the end of this is going to be like, you know what, Joe, you did your hardest. We respect that. And even though we're being put on trains right now to concentration camps, we appreciate that you fought for us. Yeah, he might be confident, but the bottom line is that he's lost the confidence of the voters. I'm going to lose any goodwill he had. He's going to lose any goodwill he had with libs if he costs him the election, especially while everyone is pretty much in unison, except for, paid DNC shills saying, no, this ain't it. Like, LBJ dropped out. Big Dick Johnson. Lyndon B. Dick dropped out. I alone can stop Trump's fascism and only God can stop me.
The world is at an inflection point. Where the things that happen in the next several years are going to determine what the next 6-7 decades look like. And who's going to be able to hold NATO together like me? Who's going to be able to be in a position where I'm able to keep the Pacific Basin in a position where we're at least checkmating China now? Who's going to do that? Who has that reach? Who knows all these? We're going to have, I guess, a good way to judge me is you're going to have now the NATO conference here in the United States next week. Come listen. See what they say.
Mr. President, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. Oh, thanks for your time. Great job, George Stephanopoulos. George could have literally gone down in history as like a Frost Nixon interview. The Frost Nixon interview sealed the entire Nixon legacy when he came out and said, when the president does it, it's not illegal. George Stephanopoulos had the opportunity to say, what year and day did your son die? Can you honestly look the American people in the eye who are calling you Genocide Joe, saying that you are demented, and think that despite being 6 points down nationally, that you can actually beat Donald Trump? The New York Times editorial board, multiple Democratic representatives, pundits, the public say you can't do this. How are you not the liberal Donald Trump? I hope you do street interviews at the convention. I will. I'm crying for the man. Don't. Don't shed a fucking tear for this genocidal warmonger. The man, when asked like what he's been doing to prove that he can do this, said, "I've been doing wars." It's one thing to recognize Joe Biden's humanity because maybe someone in your family has dealt with like a decline in their mental capacities. It's a whole other thing for him to be the president. This was essentially a breakfast pep talk between a father and son, where George throws Joe the keys at the end, and as they both laugh, Joe leaves in the car, smashing the mailbox and turning down the neighbor's driveway. Gremloe street interviews at the DNC be like, Biden needs to go hawk Tua on that convention. Yeah. Seriously, fuck him. Don't let his age elicit your compassion. He's a literal monster. Right. And that's the thing about this entire dementia aspect, is that he is insulting the empathy and real issues that other people are going through, that have either themselves or their family gone through cognitive decline. It's spitting in their eye because they can't get adequate health care or expansions in Medicaid and Social Security. You're certainly not fighting for that. My grandmother, Becca's grandmother, are both going through this right now of cognitive decline, needing to go on hospice. Both of our grandmothers. And yet, here is a guy who is just a little bit younger than both of them by 2 years. And I'm supposed to think, yeah, if my grandmother were in his position, I would be confident. No. No, I would not. A man has put everything that is happening to him recently on himself. Most 84-year-olds accept to just fade into irrelevancy and enjoy their life due to their decline. And he decided to run for the highest position in the U.S. The most powerful person on the planet. He said it himself, running the world. He's so demented that he is giving the game away. I've been doing wars. I've been running the world. Only God can remove me from this. Are we a monarchy or are we a democracy? Because the more Donald Trump and especially right now Joe Biden open their fucking trap, the more I think we're a monarchy. The fact his family isn't making him step down is disgusting. They're terrible people just like Joe. Yeah. What will happen in the next 4 years if Biden wins? If Biden wins, Kamala Harris will be president. Because even if somehow he manages to win, if he manages to make it through January, he's not going to bow out. He's not going to be like, all right, we beat Donald Trump, now I can resign. No, he is going to die in that Oval Office. He will die at the Resolute desk. Because even Kamala, like, taking the torch. This is Jim Crow Joe. You think he will, on purpose, hand it off to her? I'm sorry. No. This is a racist, genocidal, fascist, neoliberal. He ain't handing off the presidency to a black woman. That ain't happening. Will die doing what he loves most, murdering children. Yeah.
ABC News also offered a one-on-one interview to Donald Trump after the debate. He declined. Let's bring in our political team for what they're hearing. Let me start out with our chief Washington correspondent, John Carl. And John, you watched the interview. You've been talking to people all across Washington. What are you hearing?
Well, George, look, Biden looked better and certainly more coherent than he looked during the debate. But there was nothing in this interview that is calming nerves of jittery Democrats who fear that Joe Biden is on a trajectory to lose this race, to lose to Donald Trump. In fact, for some of those people, the interview is raising new concerns, particularly the fact...
I just tweeted this out. It took me a minute to get all three out, but... It said, Biden and Trump are both mirrors held up to the central issues in both parties. Every issue within the Democratic and Republican Party are exemplified in these two geriatric narcissists, only out for their own personal self-interested endeavors. Trump represents a long-standing project of white supremacy, eroding civil liberties, and expansion of American imperialism. His policies did nothing but widen the wealth gap and erode civil liberties and order. Ultimately, his existence is a result of the failures of neoliberalism. Biden represents every failure of neoliberal austerity policies, the continued expansion of the military-industrial complex, a malignant narcissism that uses its own failures as a cudgel against those who rightfully dare to question the established neoliberal order.